Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Up Your Experience podcast. It's me, the Blaise McBain guy, but we have a special guest today. We have Joe from Guardians Mental Health. Joe, how's it going?
Going good. Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I kept telling Bats, I was like, dude, I need to ask Joe or just really any of the ambassadors, anybody just to come on and kind of just like talk about their journey with mental health and what Guardians mental health means to them and just how the experience has been, because for me, like, it's been awesome. I really love doing it. I've talked to like some of my students about it. I've talked to coworkers about it, and it's just a good time. It's just a good time.
I know you're an amazing individual, and I'm glad to have you, working with us and as one of our ambassadors because you really do shine a light on, prioritizing mental health and self-care and just making it known, that making mental health known, talking about it, breaking down those barriers, letting people understand and know that there's resources and things out there to assist them. And it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to be struggling because we all are, frankly,
For
all of us
sure.
are affected by mental health in no two ways, the same. So it's really, really uplifting when you hear other people talk about it because, especially when somebody, really gets through to you. Um, you feel comfortable around them and they start talking about it and it makes you relax as well, and it just opens up more doors and opportunities.
Sure. I went to work yesterday, and before I even got to work, every day people are like, "Oh, how's it going?" I'm like, "It's good." If it's bad this early in the morning, like, something's wrong. Like, something has gone wrong. And yesterday was one of those mornings where something went wrong. Like, I was I was
Mhm.
not feeling it. And my wife goes, "Just make sure you take deep breaths." I was like, "Oh, don't worry. I have breathing exercises. I,
Oh, don't,
I,
don't you
I,
worry.
I am good to go." But that was just how the day went. Like, I finally got calmed down, and then it was just like another hiccup. I'm like, okay, surely that's the worst part of the day. And then it was just like, and another one. And at that point, I'm like, it'd be nice, just going home and taking a nap, or just taking a moment and putting on some music and taking a mental minute. Just
Yeah.
having a moment. And it's important. It happens with all of us. I think some people, you try to kind of brave the storm and you're like, I'm gonna be okay, but like, yeah, you're going to be, but like, it's okay to ask for some help sometimes too.
Hmm.
And that's a struggle, I think. And I think what's good now, I guess, I've been teaching for so long at this point, but the nice part now is like that's finally getting like to our youth, which is
Yeah.
awesome. Like, I have so many kids that I teach, they're like, yeah, I have therapy today, and I'm like, shout outs to you, and also shout outs to the fact of like being able to go, hey, I got therapy today, like, out loud, because so many people, like, before, I feel like if I was talking about 10 years ago, it was almost like it was taboo, even though it really
Yeah, I was
wasn't.
just thinking that too. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I mean, back when we went to school, we didn't have, social workers or school psychologists or access to any of that stuff in school. You had your guidance counselor. And if
Yeah.
your guidance counselor was like mine, you saw him once a year and that was it. And there wasn't really access to mental health. It was, you sucked it up or you
Yep.
tried to talk to your friends who were just like, so it was a
Exactly.
real stigma on it, and it's really night and day these days. How far just our society has come with accepting it and recognizing how important it actually is. And it's not just physical health; your mental health is so important because it affects everything. It affects you physically, your day to days, every facet of your day and interactions and everything. Can affect your mental health. Even this conversation right now, I'm getting anxiety from it. No, uh, I'm
Yeah.
a
I
chatterbox, but yeah,
No, but no, but
it's
for sure.
amazing,
I
and
I
just for people being open, especially that age with accepting that and being vocal about it is incredible.
I was gonna say that's one thing with me coaching running. People are like, "Oh, what's the hardest part?" I'm like, the mental part of it, like being able to not shut down and convince yourself that no matter how much pain you're in or how hard the breathing is, like, I'm gonna keep going. Everything is, and I want to push through it. And I've actually had some students this year that were interviewed about, what made you want to do cross country? Why do you love track? why do you love running? And one of them was like, oh, it's my therapy. Like for me, it's a way to go do something where it breaks down my entire day, and I can take a moment, reflect, and then I'm good afterwards. And I'm like, that's really, really awesome. Hey, she's one of my better runners. Like she's one of the ones that time wise is really, really excellent. But being able to use that as not only a way to get better for other sports, but also have that just way to mental reset every day of like, hey, it's like me in journaling. I journal every day. I started that during COVID, and it's made a huge difference for me. Just taking a moment and having that self-reflection, I think is really, really important.
Yeah, I agree. And people kind of underestimate how powerful and useful journaling can be. I mean, it's just, just getting those thoughts out, even on paper, it has a huge impact.
For sure. And I think that's one of the things that I can say I was one of those people. I was like, I don't get it. I tried journaling in the past, didn't get it. And it finally, one day I was like, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm going to do it every day. And I'm going to see how it goes after a month, which seems to be the thing I do, because that's April 7th of last year. I said, I'm going to do 100 push-ups and 100 sit-ups every day.
Oh my God.
And I said, I'm going to do it for a
You're
month.
an overachiever. No.
I'm going to do it for a month and say, hey, how's it go? And I'm like, man, I feel a lot better. Just forcing myself to have just some type of physical activity throughout the day outside of what I just walking around for work. Like, and even if I had a track workout, like I would still do the 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups. And I've stuck with that, just like my journaling, where it's for me, I've just realized, hey, it makes me feel better. It physically, mentally, the whole nine. And I actually have someone in my community who was like, so what do you write about? I was like, oh, I mean, I write about what I do during the day, but you could write about anything. I mean, really, I had a student a few years ago that was like, hey, I'm having some issues. I'm working through some stuff. Do you have any suggestions? Like, write about something. And she's like, well, like what? I was like, what do you enjoy? She's like, well, I like listen to music. I said, okay, review an album. And that's what she started doing. She started reviewing just different tracks or albums, and that's what her writing was, but it helped her just sift through the day and get that mental reset, or, just like confidence of like, hey, today I made good decisions, or today, man, I could have really worked on that. I keep a mental note of that for next time.
It's funny you bring that up, the music and utilizing it that way. When I was in school, a way that I used to ground myself was, while I always listen to music. Music's great.
Oh, yeah.
I started to try and be artistic with it. Like I was very into a lot of art classes. I took pretty much everything that was available, and I was accepted into the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, all sorts of stuff. And what I used to do was I would listen to a song and I would try and put that on paper. I would try and sketch it out, like a part of it, or the entire length of it, or I would take a snippet and just like paint it black, the door,
Oh, yeah.
a red door turning black, and I would draw a door and paint dripping off it and this and that, and try and reflect different elements from the song into that piece. And it usually came out pretty good. It was really neat to see that kind of transformation. It's just kind of like art is therapy. Is, that I used to attach myself to for grounding.
I was good at drawing when I was a kid. And then,
Oh, I'm not good at it. I never said I was good at it.
No, but I mean, like, I would draw, I'm like, oh, I felt pretty good about this. And now, as an adult, if I have to draw something on the board for my classes, I'm like, all right, this is the farmer, and the farmer's a stick figure, hat or whatever.
Stick figure, basic shapes, lines. There we go.
Tree is, what type of tree are we talking about? A Christmas tree gets the little.
Yeah, the squiggle going up. Yeah, perfect.
Apple tree gets the little cloud tree. That's as good as we're doing. I'm not, and sometimes students will be like, "You can't do better than that." No, not today. I'm not going to. Do you get the point? That's all that matters. Do you understand? It's a tree. And really, as long as that's the case, it works out pretty nicely.
I'm still hung up on that you do 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups. I only do 30, and that kills me some days. But you were right. I just want to backtrack to that real quick. You're gonna find out I'm all over the place. That's usually how my brain works. But I apologize ahead twice.
Oh, you're good.
And I'll do it again later. But people underestimate, as well as doing something extra in the day, how much of an impact it'll have on you in the long run. Like say just doing 20 push-ups a day.
Yeah.
Uh, it's that extra routine. Your body has like muscle memory from your movements all day. You might have a manual labor job where you're lifting, bending, stuff like that, and you're moving, but your body will get used to those movements. Those muscles will, like get to a certain point and then like plateau off, and you won't work other muscles because you're not doing anything different. Doing push-ups or planks or something on top of that will work a whole different, it'll activate other muscles and parts of your body that you haven't, activated in a long time because your body's so used to just walking around the classroom or going to the hallways or doing whatever. So adding something out of the norm into it makes a big difference. Big
And
difference.
that's part of the reason I
Anybody
started
that
doing
does a plank for over a minute, I think there's issues there because yeah, it's disturbing. I can't do a plank for over a minute, and yeah, anybody that's like, oh yeah, I'll do a 5-minute plank. Yeah,
I have fun,
who
bud.
hurt you?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
like, who decided that was a good idea?
Yeah.
I always laugh because that's what my students ask me. They're like, "Coach, you good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm great. I'm gonna feel better after whatever we're about to do." Like, they're
Yeah.
and sometimes I'll be like, "I got a new workout today," and they always know that if I say I thought of a new workout, there is a high probability that it's gonna be awful. But I do the workout with my runners, so like if it's awful, we're all in it together. And I will be like, all right, guys, note to selves: if I mention doing this again, we're not doing this aspect of it, or we're cutting this part out because this was just over the top. And it always cracks me up because they'll be like, so what are we doing today? And we started conditioning yesterday. We have a hill that we call the Big Mac because it's by McDonald's. And
Perfect.
so I'm conditioning soccer players, just something I've never done, but they all came to me and they're like, hey, we really want to be in shape for next soccer season. Would you help us out? And I was like, yeah, of course. Sounds great. And we're going, like, I have a couple track kids out there to do soccer too. And they're like, hey, we're going through the starting workout for conditioning. And one of them goes, can we do Big Mac today? And I was like, we can do a Big Mac. And one of the guys that knew what we were talking about was like, no. I'm like,
No.
yeah, we can do one. I was like, there's no push-ups and sit-ups in it. We can run one of them. And
do bear crawls up it, then backwards bear crawls up it. Those are my favorite.
Those
Get that
are awesome.
steep hill.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I laughed because I took them down this nice, leisurely, nice walking hill. They're like, oh, this isn't too bad. And I was like, oh, this isn't the hill we're running. it's the one next to it that we're running. They're like, oh.
Yeah, you got to get to that hill, and this is the trail we're using.
It's always a fun time, but I tell people, like, that's for when people talk about, oh, well, cross country and track are easy. I'm like, okay. I said, but the mental, it's not even so much the physical aspect. The mental aspect of it is as difficult, if not more difficult, because you have to convince yourself that you can push through, or you're faster than somebody else, or whatever it may be. But it's always so interesting to me because that's the nice part, is everybody approaches it differently. And like this year, we had a bunch of our cheerleading team quit and they came to run cross country. And I was like, this is an odd change. I was like, we're going to run 3 miles. And they're like, yeah. And all of them stuck with it. They're like, we love it. They're like, we're not good, but we love it. And I was like, no, I mean, you finished the race. You're good. Like that's a hard feat for some people. And it was really awesome to see just like a different approach to it, where they were super positive, having a good time. And awesome. It was a nice change on the coaching aspect for me, because usually I get a lot of people that come out there like, oh yeah, I got this. It's going to be easy. And then, 2 weeks later, they're like, I can't do it. And I'm like, okay, no problem. And I always have kids like, coach, I don't want you to be disappointed. I was like, I don't get paid to be disappointed. That's not my job. My job is to help you get better. Now, disappointment's someone else's job, but it's not mine. And that always takes them aback. Like, I even had a student say that to me about a test this week. Don't be disappointed. I was like, I'm not. I'm here to help you. Like, my disappointment's not in my vocabulary for what we're doing. And they always get, wait, what? I'm like, yeah.
Not used to hearing that.
Not part of my job. Not part of my job here. But before we hop into specifically things for Guardians Mental Health, I had some questions so we can get to know Joe. I figured like that's good good to have. Like I
Okay.
know you play Destiny, you play Fortnite a bit because we've
I
hit the
do.
Fortnite cues. But do you have a favorite game, like just overall favorite game anything from the past to now that you just enjoy more than the others?
Hmm. There's a lot of them. I've been a gamer my entire life. My father was a gamer, so Atari was a thing, and
Yeah.
Genesis, Sega Genesis, all the
Mm.
way up. And we always played games, and we played a lot of games together. And there is one series of games. I am a big fan of BioShock. I
Okay.
absolutely love
Yeah.
BioShock. I love Dead Space series. I played them both. But BioShock, I absolutely love the storyline. It's like one of the first games that like I really started to like dive into like lore and stuff and like
Yeah.
learning about the history of Rapture and everything. It really interested me. And but it's actually Age of Empires.
Oh, nice.
And every once in a while, you will see if you're watching, like you'll see that game pop up, and I'll sit there and I'll build civilization and everything, and I'll invite my father. Like I'll still play with my father. If I tell him that I'm on, he'll jump on. He's not fun to play with. He's very competitive,
Yeah.
and he's also that guy that will take on 10 like AIs with maximum
Oh,
difficulty and
yeah, yeah.
win. So you playing against him is like not even a warm up. So, but he absolutely like adores that kind of time. Like he absolutely loves it. So that's part of the game series that I'm most attached to, like the original Warcraft, Starcraft, and
Yeah.
Age of Empires. Age of Empires, I just love that the thum like when you
Hmm.
finish building a building. And just I'll have it playing in the background while I'm working on other stuff for like the nonprofit or something. And it's one of those like leisurely games that you can sit there and let your your village build up and just build walls and towers. And if you get under attack, I can put my focus back to it. And once I wrap up whatever I'm doing, I just build this mass army and just go marching Napoleon style across the entire map. It's a fun game. I like it.
How about that? Mine's always Galaga. Galaga and oddly
Wow.
Madden. But Galaga is something me and my dad used to play along with
You
Madden. We used
do
to
you
play
remember
both of
Joe
them.
Madden
Yeah.
or Joe Montana
Yeah.
football? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we used to. I used to love that. I never got into the Madden. I liked Montana. That was I used to play that all the time with my father. But Madden I never got into.
My dad would be like, "All right, you want to play Madden?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then he would make me think I could win, and there was
Right,
no
right.
shot. And I think about that now because when I was in college, I was that way where people would be like, "Hey, you want to play Madden?" I'm like, "Yeah, 100%." They're like, "Oh, I hear you're good," and I would be like, "I mean, I'm all right," and I would just stomp. But I think about like my dad would never. He would not give me the opportunity or light of day. Like I would have to play my heart out to even hopefully be within seven. Um, but no, we
Yeah,
played a
it,
lot
it
of
it
Galaga.
seems like our fathers should play against each other sometime
Yeah.
because they seem like they have the same mentality.
Yeah, it was very much you're gonna learn to win, and I'm like, and I think a lot of times I think that really paid off.
Mm.
When I game with my kids now, like we'll play Super Smash Brothers, and everything will be fine, and then one of them, usually Luke, because he's older, will just start talking trash, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh, okay, and that's when we bust out the Toon Link, and I just mollywop them, and and then he's like, oh, I didn't mean it. I'm like, yeah, yeah,
too
me
late now.
either, me either. But no, I always, I try to take, I try to teach Luke, like, you can, if you're gonna talk trash, just expect to get beat. Like that's this the the way it is. But also teach him like, hey, like you don't always have to. It's not always about winning. It doesn't always have to be about winning because for some reason, man, that is they're 4-8, and that's all they're just like, I want to win. I'm like, yeah, but it's okay. Like it's okay not to win. Like that is an okay thing. You can learn from it. That's a growing thing. It's all good. Um,
Yeah, we had that conversation. I had that conversation with our youngest. She's 7. Our oldest is 15, and I am a big fan of the game Clue.
yeah,
I bust out the board game, and it'll be like the three of us, and my youngest daughter, she was dying to win one, to guess what it is. And the oldest one, she won every single one. We played 4 times in like an hour. Like, she guessed that fast.
Yeah.
And she was right every time. And my youngest was in tears at the end because she just wanted to win so bad. But she actually won tonight. So
Let's
it
go.
worked out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
we started
had to
doing we
learn
started
how
doing
it's okay to
second
lose.
place
Oh,
as that being winning, because then someone loses, it's not them, and that has helped the youngest one.
mm,
Because he's like, well,
might have to adopt
he's
that.
well, I still won. I'm like, yeah, man,
Mm-hmm.
you beat me. So yes you did. And it's funny. We get out of the car every day, and they're like, we're gonna race up the steps, and they're like, Dad, you're always last. I'm like, well, yeah, I have to carry everybody's backpacks.
Yeah,
To the
exactly.
car, and
Yeah.
and like I also have to make sure everything's in the
You
car.
weighed down.
But it's funny because like, why we won. I'm like, yeah, first, second, last. I got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Open the door.
First, last.
Go in.
Like, can you?
Go in the house.
I laughed the other day because I was like, oh, were you in the house first? No, because I had the key. How about that?
Oh, you made it to the Porsche. I made it in the house first.
Yeah, and it was just funny because they were just so, they're so shook. They're like, no way.
My dad used to cheat sometimes because we used to do that when we were kids too. Me and my brother would race to the door. My dad, every blue moon, would be like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! You forgot this and this in the car. You got to go back and get it. Come on, go back." There was nothing in the car, but he made us believe that we forgot something in the car, and we walked away from the door, and he got to the door first, and he'd just do this,
Yep.
and then go in the house.
Yeah. I've done that before.
No, there we go.
I'm like, your water bottle's in the car. They're like,
yeah,
what? Yeah.
yeah. Don't forget, get your water bottle out of my car. You can't leave everything. Oh,
yeah.
oh, yeah, that's right. You didn't bring it today, but you didn't remember that.
I always gotta keep them on their toes. Keep them on their toes.
Absolutely.
So have you been playing Fortnite OG at all with the old?
I have. Yeah.
Are you enjoying it?
No. I don't enjoy any new season, to be completely honest. Just because I have to readapt to everything.
Yeah.
New things popping into the map, new layouts, whatever it may be. There's something new every season, and I have to adapt to it. And it takes me a couple weeks to adapt to it before I really start like holding my own better. I can still usually make it to like second or third, but I don't like the water, how you can't swim anymore and it slows you right down.
Yeah.
I don't like the golf carts. The plane is suicide, because you're just flying through the air and everybody's shooting at you. Have you gotten the plane yet?
I have not gotten the plane since they've released Fortnite OG. I remember back in the day, if you were in a plane, like you were target practice for anybody that you flew over.
Yeah, I found that out the hard way this morning when I was drinking coffee. But no, it's not terrible. But I just have to adapt to it. I'm not a big fan of the weapons right now, but like I said, give me a little adjusting period, time to adjust to it, and I'll probably come back, liking it better. It's that weekend game, that
for sure.
Nobody's awake in my house yet, and I'll fire up the PlayStation 4 is what I usually play it on. I'll drink a cup of coffee, me and the dog, and I'll play, several rounds of, Fortnite, or if Shafis or somebody's on and they pull me in and I'm in the office, I'll pop in and I'll play a couple matches real quick. But yeah, it's still fun. I still like it. I still like just traveling around the map. I like how open it is, and I'm looking forward to some of the past items to come back, because it made just the quality of life a little bit better in it. I always play no build. So I can't build a wall and survive. It's not going to happen. But no builds I absolutely like. I think I've won like 3 matches out of like 40 since it came out.
Yeah,
so.
I think for the charity weekend, I just kept finishing 5th. I was doing a real good job at finishing 5th. And it was funny. And I will say, like, it's cool seeing the old map, but it like the shallow water. I'm like, could they
Yeah.
have not just given me a chance to swim? Could they have not given me that? And then like some of it's weird because now I can jump and grab walls, which wasn't a thing before. Like I can parkour, pull myself up. And I'm like, man, this quality of life change was huge because I remember back in the day, if I couldn't build a ramp up here, I wasn't getting here. Um,
Yeah. Now you can mantle. Yeah.
yeah, it's been a time, and I do think, and I agree though, like the adjustment to them changing something every week, is it makes you definitely feel the difference. And
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I don't I play build if Luke puts it on build, but other than that, no, I'm good. I don't need to watch kids crank 90s up and then I'm just like, cool, I'm gonna shoot out your building or wait for you to peek if I have a sniper, one of the two, and hope for the best.
Yeah.
But no
Pretty
build.
much.
It does feel weird. I will say, like, I think they did a good job with the zip line placements, but it does feel
Yeah.
strange because it's like I have so much movement, but the map feels so open that I can't, like, it just feels odd for sure. But they're adding Lego next month, and I'm interested in that.
Hmm.
It's gonna be like you play as Lego characters, like Lego map, the whole nine. Supposedly that's what's been
Hmm.
mentioned, and I think that could be kind of cool. But we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, Lego is
About it.
huge, and I might check that out. But I'm usually just the no build guy. You know,
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I try
Looks
not
like
to drag the team down, but I try and be an extra backpack to carry. You know, the next team we come across stuff. You know, when they kill me. You know.
yeah, Luke will be. My favorite thing about playing with Luke is sometimes he just full sends it and doesn't say anything, and it is the most exciting and frustrating moment at the same time. Because the other day he's like he riffs and I was like, "Where are you going?" And he's like, "I'm gonna 2v1," and I was like, I can't help you. There's no way for me to get up there, bud. And he just immediately loses, which was unfortunate because sometimes he does it and I'm like, wow. And I thought that was going to happen. And I got up there and I just got wrecked too. And I was like, well, you win some, you lose some on that front. But it makes it
Yeah.
interesting because there are times where I just get smoked. We go into a fight and I eat all the bullets. And then all of a sudden he's just like, boom, boom, boom. And I was like, where did this come from? It's like
Mm-hmm.
the elite gamer comes out of nowhere. I just don't expect it.
I will
So
say that Rift really does make it fun to push on people.
yeah,
I did it today, this morning. I took 3 out of 4 people. We had a teammate that was engaged ways away, and I never have mics on or anything, but I saw him. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna try and rift up to him. Rifted, and you come in so hot, and I came in right behind him and smoked all 3 of them. And I was like, all right, now I got a new movement. I'm always
yeah,
gonna have a rift on me.
yeah. No, it's one of those things. Like it feels so good, and I think about that with all BRs, and even in like Destiny. If I or really any first person competitive game, I guess third person too, but if I can get an opportunity where I can use movement to play aggressive and it works out, I'm a fan.
Yeah, that's why I
It's
like Titan. The Titan
yeah,
movements, you get quick bursts, especially with stasis, or not. It's not stasis. No, it's the other one.
it's the green one, right? The new one.
The green one.
I
Yeah.
can't.
I
I
play
can't.
Destiny all the time. I don't know what the heck. Strand.
There I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, I think it starts with the S, but I haven't played
Yeah.
enough to know.
I
Um,
I can't I can't do the 6v6 game matches like in Crucible in
mhm.
Destiny. It's just too chaotic for me, and I absolutely love trials and competitive. So right now I've been on a competitive kick, just playing comp. It's usually survival. I love the speed of it, and 3v3, it gives you a little bit of time to breathe at first, but you really have to think out your plays and your moves and everything because there's always somebody better than you. I mean,
oh yeah,
or at least myself. There's chances are pretty good that they're all better than me. I just get lucky, and I just I just like that play style better. So I've been on that. I've been trying to go. I'm almost platinum on it. Um,
nice.
but I really like it. And when I get on a competitive thing, I end up jumping in trials like every weekend.
Yeah, I
Is
keep
my dog
thinking.
Squeaky Toy bothering you?
No, it's all good.
Okay,
Um,
I'm sorry.
I think no, I'm one of those people that always enjoys competitive, and I keep going, man, I should boot up Destiny and play competitive because I think it would be different than what I'm used to, which is where I'm at with Smite. Like Smite for me this season has been really, really rough, and I've just been reaching for new, different games just to kind of give me a moment, like give me some peace. Because when I play Smite, sometimes I'm just like, all right, it's going to be one of those nights where I'm getting ganked by 4 people in my lane over and over and over again. And so I started playing Overwatch 2 again this past week just for like something to do that's still gives me the competitive itch, but I
Mhm.
don't necessarily have as much investment in or care about as much because I think for me it's the amount of time I've spent in Smite when we're getting just obliterated as a team. I'm just going, I've played blah 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 amount of hours of this game and I can't get a win. I've lost 10 matches in a row or whatever. Just finding something different. Um, and I guess that's like when we talked about Fortnite. For me, that's that game where I can hop on Fortnite and I don't care how I do. Like it's just boot up, kind of turn the brain off, have fun. Uh,
Yeah,
and
that's usually how I play.
yeah,
Regardless,
I was gonna say that's like Diablo's that for
that's
me
yeah.
too, where I could just. And what's crazy is people's like, how do you play hardcore Diablo? And I was like, to me, the risk factor scratches the competitive itch, but I'm just chilling. Like I'm really just wanting to, you know, go and do like a single player experience where I'm just worried about mobs and that's it. I'm not having to worry
Mhm.
about someone coming to get me.
Yeah.
But I guess we should talk about some Guardians mental health things because we're a ways in. And I did want to ask, at what point, like, how did it all begin? Like, where I know a little bit.
Dollar in a dream. No.
Yeah,
No, actually, it started very organically, like grassroots style. It actually started while playing Destiny. Um, playing, I think it was in like Kingsfall. We had a weekly team every reset. We've never met in person. We all met through LFG communities and stuff like that. And we just were in this weekly routine with just doing like Kingsfall or Vault of Glass or something like that every reset, and then again on Friday, and with being around people that much and that often for that amount of time, because it takes hours to do
yeah,
raids and stuff, you start picking up verbal cues and how people are doing. And it's just, like a part of reading people. You started realizing that, a teammate wasn't their normal energetic or like over the top self. Someone was bothering them. So it started out very organically with just doing check-ins, peer-to-peer, check-ins, shooting a DM after the match, staying in voice chat, seeing what was going on, what was bothering them, what happened today, and through that, started realizing that a lot of people are affected, kind of similar, and just need that outlet. So we actually created a server where people could, have peer-to-peer interactions and not have a fear of, somebody being negative towards them or shutting them down or demeaning them in any way. Just a place to, be heard, have people listen, and we started collecting resources and stuff to provide next step, support for people for whatever they might be going through on hand, just in case. And Dr. Williams, you know him as Dr. Goku,
yeah.
uh, came on board actually after our first charity stream. So we went, um, oh shoot. I worked on it. It started out with that was just I'm getting ahead of myself. That was the kind of like end right there. So the development of it was creating this kind of network. So it started
Yeah.
out as like the Saint 14 project, because Saint 14 in the game is he's modeled, he's for the people.
Hmm?
So we started out that way, and it it started recognizing through various different, from live events to online to just seeing and identifying different areas that something really could be done to help other people. So I started, we worked with several other organizations at that time still. Um, and I'd reach out to them and be like, hey, and I'd share with them, and they're like, oh, yeah. And then they would just kind of brush it off. Nobody would do anything. And it's like, you know what? We can, we can do this. We can do it ourselves. We can put something together and really have a positive impact and give people these tools, from us.
Yeah.
So I went through the painstaking process of getting our 501c3 nonprofit status. And if you've ever traveled down that road for a 501c3, um, it's a long road and it's a difficult road. So I commend anybody who follows through with the entire process, because it's actually written to discourage people from, pursuing it. It's that difficult. Um, so we ended up, we got it finally, and it was a very exciting time. I still get excited thinking about it. And we had our first charity stream like in that spring. And during that charity stream, Dr. Goku was there. And he came right on board and immediately was, very hands-on with everything. It was like, I see the ideas, see the programs. What about this? We could do this. Can I help with this? And he was very, very on board. He's always been like that. And it just grew and grew and grew from there. And actually, it's kind of similar how some of our programs started. Um, one being our mental health kit program. So we have several programs that are available to people, and all of them are free. And that was the big takeaway that we really wanted to put out there is have free programs for people to utilize. Financial hurdles are one of the biggest hurdles for people to overcome and get access
Yes.
to things. So that's what, in our mission, we really wanted to provide that access to meaningful resources. So our first convention that we went to was actually PAX East. We were up in the diversity lounge. I still have pictures of the booth. Nothing on it. It was a banner in the back. We had a table banner, and yeah, we had patches that a community member made for us. We had like one pin, like 40 of them, and a couple resources. We had a couple resource cards, and from there, just in my personal experience with walking around. At the end of the show, I was thinking back. I was like, "Ooh, there was a really good resource on." I can't, I don't know specifically, but I went to dig through the oversized bag looking for it, and I couldn't find it. And after a few minutes, I gave up on it. And I'm like, "How many other people do that?" I'm like, you know what? We could make something that is got everything in its own little, container, its own little bag, and everything's there. So if you want to look for it later, it's going to stand out and it'll be all in the same place. So, and that's the beginning of what the mental health kits were began to be. And so Dr. Williams, and several other mental health professionals and team members, we all curated and worked on it. I mainly focused on the logistics side, and got all the evidence-based resources, put it all together, and what we were going to do, the idea was to just have it at live events. And then COVID hit, and because of that, people were locked inside and didn't really have access. So we wanted to take the extra step and decide to start shipping them to people for free. As long as the funding stands, we're able to fulfill kits, and we do. And we fulfilled 21,000 to date so far, which is incredible,
Yeah,
an absolute
that's
incredible feat.
a huge amount.
And that was how the mental health kits, started, came to be. But also at that same show, I signed up for what I thought was a meet and greet. Okay. And I've had an idea in my mind for several months at this point, and I didn't know how to put it down. But it was for Twitch. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, well, we'll rub elbows. I brought somebody to, who was helping with the booth at the time, and it was at the Amazon headquarters in Boston. So, we finished the convention, and we go there, and you hit the first security checkpoint. Then you go into the vestibule. Then they check your IDs again. Then you get to the top of the stairs and they check it again. Then you go to a counter and they give you a pass and you check your ID again. And then you go through a turnstile with a, metal detector and everything. And then you get to like an elevator. And at that point, his name was Joe too, comes up and gets real close to me and goes, "I don't think we're supposed to be here." And I
Oh
said,
no.
"It's too late now.
Yeah.
We went through way too much security at this point. We're going up there." And we went up there, and what it turned out was it was a presentation to indie developers for Twitch integrations for games. And it was a presentation being hosted by the creators of Stardew Valley. So they were showing this and that, and we grabbed some of the free food, sat down at a far table, and I started taking notes on certain things, and it was coding and stuff. And towards the end, they called on me, and they're like, "Well, what do you do?" I'm like, "I'm gonna be honest, I'm not supposed to be here." And I told them, and they all the room laughed. They got a kick out of it, and I'm like, "But I have an idea," and it was the idea for the RTS bot.
Yeah.
And one thing we identified was a lot of creators and streamers program their own commands through Nightbot and various other programs, and a lot of them have mental health resources. But a lot of those resources are pulled from like Google and stuff like
Right.
that. So you don't know really how trustworthy they are. Plus, it's all extra work that they have to do and to maintain and monitor and keep up with it. It's a lot of extra work. So the idea came to be coding our own program that essentially housed all of the mental health and crisis resources in one place where another individual can just add it to their channel or their server or something like that. And they have this entire library of mental health vetted resources available to them and their community. And they absolutely loved it. And 10 minutes later, I had developers all around me teaching me how to write Java and everything else. And Joe's taking extra coffee mugs and bags and anything with Twitch on it for his kids and grabbing food and shoving it in that bag. So,
That's so funny.
he did grab me a coffee mug though, but that's where it started. And then Mark on our team is a programmer by trade, and I coded the very first RTS bot myself. It was something that I was very passionate about. I coded it up, and he changed it from Java to Python and brought it to new heights. And now we're in Discord right now, so I don't know if I steer away from this, if it's going to be an issue. There, let me give me a second.
Well, I was gonna say,
let's
it's
see.
funny. In chat the other day, someone typed the wrong command,
Mm-hmm.
and RTS bot came up because they typed in exclamation point list, or it was QJ.
Oh, yeah.
Or something, and boom, RTS bot pops up, and I was like, and they're like, "What's this?" And then they're like exclamation point list, and they're like, "Oh wow, that's cool." And then they type something else, and they're like, "There goes the sources," and it's in Discord too, and it's one of those things that it's so convenient that if you have whatever the issue may be for mental health, that it gets you a resource immediately. And that is a just huge thing, because again, it's not costing money. It takes you to a source that's been vetted. It's not just Dr. Goog's presenting you with whatever you typed in for your question or query. And it gives you a source that is legitimate, which is great. But I found it funny because it was just like this expiration thing just hit, like, where it's like, "Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that?" And it was really cool to see.
Where'd this come from? Right now, it went from literally being utilized inside the GMH server. So by, a couple dozen people when it first, launched, to now serving 398,448 people right now.
That's just a few. That's just a few.
Just a few. And it is it's being utilized right now in over 1,300 different servers at this moment. because this is real time. So, this is, people actively
Yeah,
utilizing the bot right now, and in 182 Twitch channels right now,
that's awesome.
which is absolutely incredible. And the rest of the people are utilizing the GMH app or the web browser source, because that gives you a collected, number right there. So it's incredible how it went from something very, grassroots to being able to serve a larger, have a larger reach and be able to provide those resources to people at no cost, which is huge, just having those available. And then we, got into identifying other areas as well, and it's been a ride for sure. a,
Yeah.
a fun
Well, it's
ride.
funny because you hit a couple of my questions I was going to ask. Like, what
Oh,
was
I'm
the
sorry.
no, you're good. Like, I was going to be like, hey, like, what was starting up like? What was the hardest thing? And you mentioned the 501c3 because they try to get you to where you're like, do you really want to fill this out? Like, do you really want to go through this process? And it's like this challenge of, you know,
First, they
mental
make it seem
fortitude.
so easy. It's like, okay, well, if you would like to go this route, you have to incorporate in the state you're in, fill out
Yeah.
those paperwork. And it's like, okay, and then there's a fee that goes along with it. There's always a fee.
Always a fee.
Uh,
Always a fee.
and then you file that, and then you wait and wait and wait and wait, and then you get something back, and it's like, oh, you got your LLC. Do you want to leave it as an LLC, or do you want to pursue this? And then it's the next step. And every time you think that next step is the last step, you're wrong. There's another step beyond that with another fee on top of that, and it goes on and on and on and on. And I'll never forget the day. I have it saved on my phone when the letter came in where we had our EIN number and everything. It was fully up and operational, a full 100% 501c3. I was stunned because I was for sure thinking this was a letter saying now you got to fill out ST-1478 in duplicate, have it notarized, and then send it here, and then do this and that. I thought it was coming, and that was it. But now we just maintain, and with us, we're very transparent with everything we do, with all of our finances and everything, and you have to be.
Yeah.
Um, but for federal law, a nonprofit only has to file their taxes every 2 years. And when you file, you have to show everything coming in and everything going out. I'm not an accountant. That's why we have an accountant that does
Yeah.
that. She hates me. No. I'm that guy that takes receipts out of their pocket and is like, oh,
Yeah.
here's a shoebox. I try and be as organized as possible, but it's almost impossible sometimes. But she's very good at it. But we file every single year because we don't want any sort of issues popping up. 2 years down the road when we file, it's like, hey, something from 2021 you're missing, and you need to find it. It's like it's going to be a lot easier to find it within
Yeah.
a 12-month period than it is a 24-month period. And so we file every single year, and everything's listed either off our website or you can find it through the IRS as well through our EIN, or you can just send a DM and ask. I've had people shoot a message and it's like, where do your finances go? Here you go. That's where they go. And it's one of the main things is a lot of people think that there's a lot of pay in doing nonprofit work and stuff like this. There isn't. In fact, there's zero.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We don't get a paycheck. None of us get a paycheck. We do this because we're very passionate about the mission we set out for with Guardians Mental Health and making a positive impact in the gaming space and for the community, providing different programs and tools and resources for people to access and feel comfortable and safe in the atmosphere that we're creating for people, and just try and make the gaming space that much better for everybody's well-being, for its overall well-being. And so far, I'm biased, but I think we've been doing a good job at that so far.
No, for sure. I mean, I It's funny because I can't remember what it was. I can't remember if I mentioned Guardians Mental Health or had my shirt on it, said it, and someone's like, "That's that group that came from Destiny, right?" And I was like, "Yeah," and like they knew it, and it was like, "Wow, that's really really cool," because it's one of those like small world situations where you bring it up and then it gets mentioned like, "Yeah, like they do this and this," and I was like, "Yeah." And it was
Yeah.
just a really cool it was a really cool experience of just like getting that noticeability for the program because sometimes it feels like I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Do I reach people? But then you see like we've sent out 21,000 kits. I mean, yeah, that's reaching people. There are TS bots in over 300,000 servers. I mean, like, or 300,000 servers in Twitch combined. That and then the mobile app, and it's like, okay, we are making this outreach, and it is making an impact. And I think one of the things I was going to bring up as kind of we move forward is you mentioned, okay, we have this idea of a kit now, and everything's in a centralized location. You have this bag with everything in it, and I think it's hard to understand what goes into making a kit. And we were talking about this before we started because this is my first time being able to help with a kit with the new one that's coming, the esports kit.
Yes. Jeez.
And
I just made another 250 of these tonight.
holy. And it was such an interesting process of in those first few meetings of talking with everybody, getting everybody's perspective of, okay, what does an esports kit entail? What are the main contributing things that need to hit? And the thing is, this has to happen for every one of the kits, like not just this one.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting process because you have all these different areas that are getting hit. We're like, okay.
Good night.
Sadie says good night.
Good night. I get it. Like, Logan will come in and do that to me. He's like, "Hey, Dad." My favorite's when Logan wakes up in the middle of the night and goes, "Hey, good night." I'm like, "Yeah, man. Good night."
Yeah. Back to back.
I do. I think about the fact of, and
Yeah.
not that there wasn't any conflict in our meeting in any way, but it was just like, hey, these are the things that we feel are important that need to get touched on. But then you have to break down and like, okay, which are the really key components that we need to be in the kit? That way we can make sure that it fits, in the bag under a certain amount of sheets with certain items, which I guess we'll talk about shortly, that meet a certain threshold for weight.
Yeah.
Because the certain threshold for weight determines shipping costs. And like there's all these little tiny, boxes that have to be ticked. I mean, there's so many of them. And I guess that, we could really just talk about all of it. I really kind of touched on all the questions that, would get brought up here is, what goes into making a kit? How do we determine, each year which the kit's going to be about? I mean, I know from my end kind of where some of that information comes from just because, I'm in the Ambassadors Discord and we discuss it. And I think that part's interesting. But I mean, before there were a large amount of ambassadors, because there are several of us, what's the process of deciding what the kit should be about? I guess really each year at this point, right?
At this point, yeah. Every year we've released one or two different kits, which I think next year we're going to focus on just revisiting kits, refreshing. I think the neurodivergent focus one is the next one to be refreshed. Just to update, just to go over, make sure all the resources are still current, the verbiage is still correct, but also like graphically, just to put it in line with all the other ones. Because if you see, we have kind of a flow and a kind of a standard how they all look, and any of the older ones don't match that. So we want to bring those forward. But we usually visit the kits every year, and earlier, I believe it was the main kit. We revisited that one again to make sure that one, because that's one we bring to a lot of live events and stuff like that and provide to schools and other clinicians and stuff like that, unless they want to focus one. But really, it's just identifying where it starts, what people are saying, what the community is saying, what we have identified. And actually, I believe it was 2 years ago, about right in that ballpark, Matt actually brought it up. Our advocacy director brought up about doing something for esports because it's in desperate need of something. So this year, earlier in the year and late last year, started watching a lot of esports stuff. And started really doing kind of like a little bit of investigative work on it, and just watching. And there is mental health in the esports space, but it's few and far in between.
Yeah.
There are some other organizations that do some work in the esports arena, but it's very like here, they're very small. Like there might be one person available at one event when there's 3 dozen going on at the same time, and it'll be in their neck of the woods instead of going on whatever the case may be. Some professional teams have, a support network set up where they have one person who is like an LCSW or a psychologist working with them, that the players and teammates will have access to. But in the large brunt of it, no one, no one
Yeah.
has it, and it has been a rough couple years in esports. It's very, very overwhelming, and with seeing that there was definitely room for improvement in that community, and we wanted to do something about it. So we wanted to put together something, a kit for focused primarily on esports, and it all starts with having summits. And we did that with a veteran kit and one prior to that. The main kit was primarily put together by team members and things that we've identified in house, and stuff like that. And it hits all the marks, and it's great for generalized mental health.
Right.
Um, but any of the focused ones, it really hits it out of the park when you hear from those individuals who would be receiving this,
Yeah.
that specific kit, what would be beneficial to them. And that's where we start every time now. So we'll hold a summit, a public summit, where anyone in, say, esports is, invited to come and chat with us for an evening. And I held 2 different summits, and then it was, oh my God, there's so many one-on-one calls. Uh, it had to have been 17 different calls with people one-on-one, from professional players to semi to collegiate to everything in between, even some companies who wanted to, like, this is what we've seen.
Right.
And so my brain melted a little bit at the end of that, but it and you nailed it. That's where we start right there. You have those summits, and we get a great list of different suggestions and things that people bring up that would be, beneficial, impactful for others in it. And from that, the development side after the summits really starts to kick into gear, and that's when we have our team together. And that's reached out to you, and you were so gracious to volunteer your time and just assistance with the development of this kit, which was absolutely phenomenal. Just so you crushed it every time you touched something. It
I
turned
was
to
excited.
gold.
I was extremely excited to talk. I did coaching, and then I did like how to set up your stream. But I was really excited about the coaching portion because it's something that I talk to athletes about. It's something I talk to people that I coach in Smite teams about. It's stuff I talk to my comp team about. Like, it's just like, in fact, I'll be completely honest. A few months ago, my comp team blew up. Like
Mm.
I had people at each other's throats, and I opened up a group text. There's 132 pings in the morning. I was like, oh, and
It's
people
gonna
are
be
going
one of
back
those
and forth
days.
at each other, and I went into coach mode because really I try to everybody I play with, like, we're all on the same page. Like we're no one. There's no hierarchy. Yeah, there's a team captain for scheduling, but like there's no like adjustments other than that. We don't have like a specific coach or anything like that. And finally, I went into coach mode. I was like, all right, here's the deal. These are the things that we need to do as a team, as a communication. Learning how to talk to people in a positive way. Um, if you're going to be negative, like that's not helping you or anybody else. Like, and going through those things. And I was so excited when I got to talk about it for the esports kit. I was like, this is in my wheelhouse. Like, and I feel so passionate about it.
And it was funny too, because I thought I was going to piss you off. Because what it started out with was you were going to do, because just to give people an idea, this kit specifically, we have physical printed items inside. And if you don't know what our mental health kits are, they are a blend of printed resources and sensory items curated by mental health professionals in order to assist individuals with providing them the tools and resources to create their own self-care toolkit. So inside you will find a blend of breathing, grounding techniques, focused resources, crisis safety plans, gratitude lists, crisis contact numbers, journals, pens, mindfulness activity books, sensory items, and all sorts of stuff. Everything that you would need to essentially start, creating your own self-care toolkit, getting all those resources in one spot. With this one specifically, we really expanded since there were so many great resources for focus side. If we printed it all out, this would look like a telephone book. And
Yeah.
in this day, if you don't know what a telephone book is, ask your grandparents. Because they'll show you what one is. They probably still have a stack of them somewhere. It's probably holding the basement door open.
Probably so.
Something, or a drawer, or
Yeah.
they got one somewhere. Trust me. But so we really dove into the digital content side, where we kind of touched on it briefly in the veteran focus kit with doing visual aid videos. So each one of our resource cards has a QR code in the corner. So if you scan that card, it will bring you to a specific library of videos where somebody on our team or working with us will actually read the resource to you, which brings another avenue for that accessibility to digest the information easier. If you're not a big reader or retaining information from reading, you're more of like a visual learner, that opportunity is there for you as well in the kit now. So with the digital side, we wanted to expand it on more focused resources as well. So there's actually 4 different libraries in this. I believe there's 28 total videos. Pretty soon there's going to be over 30. There's a few people that are adding some more to them. But you have the visual aid videos for all the printed items for somebody to read them to you. You have your esports focused resources and content creation, and then finding your passion in gaming. And and then also for the fourth one, it is guided meditations. There's an individual, Quinn from Quinn Ray Studios, actually recorded several guided meditations focused in esports or competitive game modes. So the first one is, kind of like a pre-game, like it's confidence building. And then the other one is, competitive loss. If you lost a match, listening to this will help you, kind of, uplift you a little bit more. So they're really great. And I'll tell you what, I've said this before, when you listen to her voice, she has like a little southern twang to it. I've talked to her on the phone several times. You will confess to a bank robbery to this individual. She's like that, like warm, welcoming tone and
Yeah.
everything. And it's like, I shouldn't be talking to you because I just told you my bank account number. She's just very sweet individual. And she's so wonderful to work with. But yeah, so we expanded through the digital content side. And you were originally going to record the communication side of it. Esports. For the esports focused resources, communication. And it was like a couple days later, I'm like, he's really good at coaching and talking to people, and I'm like, hey, would you mind shifting gears and doing it, communicating like coaching? I'm like, he's gonna be pissed at me. He probably recorded this already, and you're like, yeah, I can do that, absolutely, and you crushed it. And yeah, I love that video. And if you haven't had a chance to, if you're listening to this, visit our website, go to the esports page, scroll down. You can access all the digital content and libraries right there. Click on his videos and watch them because you're gonna love them. I'm telling you right now.
So here's my favorite thing about both the videos, and really this happened with the second one more than the first. So when you actually were like, "Hey, can you switch to coaching?" It was awesome because I had a running Google Doc of just notes that I was keeping down
Uh-huh.
just of things to talk about, and I go to record the coaching video. I record the whole, like I think I'm like 10 minutes in recording it, and I look over at OBS and I don't see my microphone pinging, and I was like,
Oh
"Oh no
yeah.
no 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 that no that the first one was the coaching video. I was coaching, and my arm slipped and hit my space bar and paused the recording and stopped it there. So I had to piece the video together because I was so far into it. I was like, but the first half was so good, and I don't think I could do it again that well. So I
Yeah.
I did it again, and then the one for streaming, I recorded, and I had no audio, and then I couldn't figure it out. I thought I figured it out. I started recording it again, and it happened again. And then during the video, I said, and this is why you have a stream checklist of things you should check before stream so you don't do what I just did and record this video for the third time.
Yeah.
Which I would like to say doesn't happen often, but anytime I record things, it tends to happen. Like if I'm making a video for something, and part of it is even if I did it right the first time, I'm probably going to listen to it and want to do it again anyway. That's just who I am as a person.
Right.
Where I'm just like,
I can relate.
second run through is going to be better. But no, I'm always happy to help, and I was excited. And
The
the
worst
coaching
part
thing,
was it didn't catch that for like a week and a half, and then I was adding it to the library, and I'm like I pre-listened to everything
yeah,
before I put it on, just in case somebody like went off the rails and was like, I hate this and then or just goes on a rant. I
yeah.
want to make sure I catch it before it goes live. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, my headset on? I go, is that playing?
No, I think I
Let me
sent you
close it. I
the
reopened
muted
it
one
and
first. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm like, I don't think there's any audio to this.
No.
And then I sent you're like, I'll be right back.
Yep. I'll get to you in just a second. Um, and no, the coaching one was awesome though. I actually worked with Positive Coaching Alliance a couple years ago. They came and they did a training for us for coaches, and that was the first time that I was like, maybe I know what I'm doing, because I didn't go to school for coaching. I went to school to be a teacher. Well, I went to school to be a mathematician, and then I was like, I get a teaching thing too. And then I was like, I'll stick with pure math.
Mm.
Now I'm teaching, and I started when the high school I started at. They never had a track team, and I was like, why? Why? And they're like, oh, we never thought about it. I'm like, well, you have cross country. Track's not really expensive to run. I said, and
Mm-hmm.
anybody could do track. And they're like, hey, would you coach it? And I was like, absolutely. I said, but do know, like, that's not what my education is. Like, I don't have any background in coaching. And I just kind of ran with it, and no pun intended, but it's really paid off because I sat in those Positive Coaching Alliance meetings, and they're talking about, like, when you're given feedback, always start with something positive, and then if you have constructive feedback, put it in the middle, end it with another positive comment. And I was like, man, that's what I do, and that works. And it was one of those realizations that, like, man, what I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing according to these people that are professionals in the field. And it made me really excited for the esports part of it, because I actually had a team reach out to me recently. They're like, hey, would you be interested in coaching? And I was like, yeah, I'd be willing to help out. And they're like, well, these are the things we're looking for. And I was like, yeah, I have a whole thing I typed out about it. And they're like, well, no, like, I don't think you understand. I was like, there's a video on the Guardians mental health side of these things that you're bringing up that I typed about it. I do in fact know what you're talking about. And it's been an interesting experience, because I think sometimes it's just as hard to be a coach for an
Mm-hmm.
esports team as it is to be a player. And
Oh yeah.
sometimes understanding what your role is as the coach is important, because it's not always the same. I mean, like, and it's an interesting time. Like, some people just want their coaches to schedule scrims and, do a little quick VOD review, talk about a couple things. Some of them really want them to be there and give feedback. And it's so different from normal coaching of just like, normal sports of, basketball, baseball, track and field, football, whatever. It's this different caveat of, like, depending on what you're needed for in esports. I mean, that's why league teams have like 3 or 4 coaches, because each of them has like their responsibility of what they're supposed to do. So it's really interesting. and it was really fun to kind of touch on all those little intricacies as far as that goes for the esports kit specifically. But we've talked about the sources that are in a kit, and getting the summit down, and kind of finding out what everybody, what is their dream thing to be in the kit, or what do they think should be in there. But we haven't talked about shipping the kit, and I think that's interesting because last week you posted in Discord and you're like, hand warmers, we're at this weight. If we add hand warmers, we might go over and we won't be able to do that. And it's like also finding hand warmers that are at a specific weight, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, like, these kits are really well put together and like everything's in there. But there's the whole aspect of the weight of the kit. And it's something I never thought about, to be honest with you, until we were sitting in the summit. And that's one of the things that got brought up, because I think we were talking about, a good fidget thing to have in there, or just something to keep your hands, it's for your hands.
Yeah, busy.
And
outlet for
then,
nervous energy or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and then one of the companies mentioned one of their products, and we're just like, okay, how can we have that in the kit and not go over the weight? We have to fit this many cards in. We have the journal, so on and so forth. And it's just funny to think that like hand warmers could make or break
Yeah,
the weight.
It's wild. So one of the things that I pretty much specialize in is the logistics of the kits. I was actually more hands-on with the two recent kits, the veteran one and the esports one, than in the past. Just because I would sit back and just kind of be like a project manager, keep things flowing, keep things moving, deadlines, following up, and doing where I can, what I can, wherever. The esports one, I did a majority of all the lifting on it, just because I was very passionate about it. And our design lead, iResolute, who's ironically named Joe and Joe, took it upon himself to be in teacher mode and dragged me into AI, Adobe Illustrator, and Photoshop, and wanted to teach me how to do everything instead of just doing it. He goes, "You're going to get a lot more out of this." So we spent hours upon hours. So all the cards were designed by me, and Joe helped with all of them because he wanted me to learn. He always wants me to learn, and I love it. And tell you the truth, I pestered the shit out of him too. I'd get home from work and be like, "I'm in my office. Let's do this." He's like, "I just woke up. I'm not doing this right now." But no, yeah. So I primarily do a lot of the logistics side of the things with the kits and other activities and things, or activations. So we have a standard weight. If you've ever shipped anything in the United States or anywhere, it's all done by weight. To standardize our shipping for all the kits within a few, like 10, 20 cents, because, the farther it goes out, it's more expensive than,
Right.
closer, is around 10 ounces. So 9.5, 10 ounces is our limit to everything included in the kit, including the bag and the label weight on it too.
Right.
So we have to stay in that ballpark, because if we go over it, it's going to take more funding to compensate for that. So we try our best to keep the weight down, and I have the weights for every single card on file, so I can do dummy weights and this and that and test stuff. And even going forward, with inflation, shipping has been hit with that as well too, making adjustments so we can keep everything kind of standard, going forward too, without, so we can stay within that threshold of, cost. And right now it's around $4.35 and change, is an estimate for shipping costs anywhere in the United States. And we have that kind of like 80 or like 60-cent buffer in case it goes to like California or Oregon or Washington, something like that. But we try and keep around that like $4.30. So that cost gets tacked onto the overall cost of the kit itself, because that's, added cost for it. So once we have all of the resources, we've worked together with all the professionals and people collaborating on the kit, and we settle down on an outline. This is our outline. It usually takes about a month or two to put together. So a lot of time goes into the development of one of these kits because it starts with the idea and then into the summits, listening to everybody, organizing that, putting it together, working with the team, getting the outline of resources. Now it's okay, what size is everything going to be? What weight of paper is everything going to be printed on? Is it going to be double sided, single sided, blah, 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 all the way through? And then once we get it, we get a count of all the printed items. So it's like, okay, so we have, I got this on my screen. I got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 different printed items inside the kit. All right, those are all have different weights. So now you got to start playing with the weight there. How heavy is the journal? What size journal is going to go in it? And you start beating it down there. And what size crayon pack can we have? If the weight's a little high right now, instead of a 4-pack, we can go with a three pack in it. Certain pens are more heavier than other pens, and it gets crazy. It really does. And sensory items. People have so many great ideas for sensory items. And I love it. I absolutely love how passionate people are when they send messages and emails like, oh, you should try this. Okay. Well, for one thing, worry stones are fantastic. I have one for live events that I bring with me. But here's the thing. It's a stone. Stones are heavy. So you can't really throw that in there because that's going to throw all the weight off. So once we get everything all together and I get kind of like the test prints in, I put it all on scales and I start weighing it out. And I love him to death. Devin, he is an esports coach for Red Bull. He I met him out in Albany. He's very, very passionate, and he dropped it right at the end too. And he's just like, "Hey, think about maybe adding hand warmers to the kits. People really underestimate how cold buildings can get and how it'll affect their hands, their circulation. It's also really good sensory. Putting something warm in your pockets, it can be kind of relaxing and grounding." And I'm like, son of a bitch, that's a great idea.
It is a great idea. It's so good.
And I own stock in hand warmers because I have I got into an accident years ago and I have metal plates and rods and everything holding his hand together. I literally pulverized knuckles. There are no knuckles. And 2 fingers and then a bunch of bones in my hand, in my palm, and then my wrist. Like, it was really bad. 4-wheelers. Don't be dumb on them. And I always have hand warmers on me. I have them in my work bags. I have them in my vehicles, car. At the end of the season, I usually will go to Walgreens and I will buy them out because they put them on a stupid low discount.
Yeah.
And I'll buy them all. And so when he suggested, I'm like, okay, I'm going to dip into my reserves. I went down into the basement and I grabbed a bunch of big bags and I start cutting singles, but there are different sizes to them. So there's little ones, and then there's large ones, and there's everything in between. So I'm sitting here with 4 different size hand warmers. I'm like, I cut one, put it on the scale with everything. Cut a different one, put that one on the scale. And then I'm just sitting here weighing stuff out just to see how close we can get. And I settled on a medium one, and I added my own personal to the first 100. And I actually am, for people that receive those, we'll be getting an email too with a survey. Do you like them in there? So right now we are testing them. And fortunately enough, we're able to include them. So if people do like them, we will order them from our supplier, where we get a lot of our other items from. We have a pro shop for all of our printing stuff, and then we have kind of distributors that we work with that we get them directly from manufacturers and stuff like that. So we kind of cut out the retail middleman and everything like that, because a hand warmer in reality costs about 7 cents.
Yeah.
When you get it in the store, now it's $1.25. So, and you got to pay everybody in between. So we cut all them out and we try and get the bottom dollar. That way we can pay it forward and have it go longer for kits.
Right.
So we'll be I'm really eager to get that feedback in, but you're absolutely right. Weight plays a huge part. And we were unfortunately not able to add that one product in from the company that was working with us just because the weight was just too much for that specific product. And it was actually a sample of Clutch One
Yeah,
hand cream, and they
which I do
took
want to try.
over.
I do want to like.
Uh,
I need to order some and try it because I think it sounds really cool.
Well, if you want, use the promo code in the kit. It
Yeah,
is Guardians Mental Health 70. It's 70% off your order.
let's
But
go.
if you want, I have sample packs because they bought the company out that was called Gamer Goo, and it's the same
Mhm.
formula still. They had sample packs. They don't do those anymore because they're messy. Once you open it
Right,
up, there's no way
right.
to close it and everything. And it made sense what Tom and everybody was saying. So everybody was going to get a full size bottle in the kit, but the weight was just too much.
Right.
So I still have some of those sample packs because we add them in the veteran kits. They sent us so many of them before they switched hands. So if you want to test it, I'll send you one, or I'll bring it to Atlanta.
Yeah, I'll bring it in Atlanta. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, it's so yeah, and it's been like that for a lot of different kits. We have to test it out, and the logistics side of it is takes more time than the actual development of it because we have to fit all the criteria and everything to fit a certain specific range. And if we can't do that, now we got to go in and play with everything. And
Yeah,
you
I
got
think
to, maybe take out coloring book pages, change sizes. Yeah.
I just think I think it was last week when you posted about hand warmers. I think I legitimately like took a little second, was like, no way, like because it was just so like it was just so random. Because I remember our conversation during the summit, and I was like, it's gonna come down to like, is it under the weight? And I just got it. It made me chuckle for a second because I knew you had to have gotten that message about hand warmers and been like, man, that's good. And because
Oh
as soon as
yeah.
you typed it, I was like, man, that is a really good idea. I hope we're able to get them in there. But
Yeah.
one thing I forgot to, I guess, touch on with the digital resources part is this time, I believe, how many different languages did we settle on for I think for captions, right?
For captions, it's
Yeah.
unlimited because and doing the research and everything at the very beginning, what we were going to do is have a language card. We were going to have the kit translated into several different languages, from English to French to Spanish to Hindi to everything in between. Um, what we found out that I was going to use Vimeo,
Okay.
Vimeo, which is a video platform
Mhm.
that we were going to do. And actually, I was talking to Dr. Bean too from Geek Therapeutics. They for another program they utilize a different platform that's like a self teaching program that people can go through the library as well. So I was testing a bunch of different platforms, and Bennett from Full Sail University was helping as well. And same thing with Becca from Full Sail. She's one of the professors there. Uh, and I brought up to them, his whole role is media. And I'm like, hey, quick question. What would be the best library for these videos? And he goes, just being completely honest with you, Joe. I'm like, yeah. He goes, YouTube. I
Yeah.
go, why YouTube? He goes, one, it's the largest streaming platform in the world. It's in every corner of the every corner of Earth. And two, it'll automatically translate into any language for wherever your region is that you set. I go, really? And I tested it, and he's 100% right. So what we ended up doing is putting these on an unlisted playlists on YouTube. That way, whoever accesses it wherever they are and it's set, the subtitles and closed caption will come up in their
That's
language
awesome.
automatically. So we felt that that was the best, most efficient way to deliver a multi-language access to these resources.
Yeah, I remember we talked about it. I just didn't remember what we settled on, which I think that's really
Yep.
awesome because it does. I know we had some information about it being used in other countries, which I think is even more amazing. That it just shows that outreach outside of just us in the U.S. I mean, like it's getting everywhere, and I think that's always really really cool to see.
Yeah, I have to do a talk for mental health and wellness, well-being conference in the UK. I'm doing a digital talk, and I'm going to be talking about the esports side of it and everything. Um, so that'll be fun too.
That
But
that
yeah,
will be fun.
it reaches every corner, and it's fantastic that people are able to access it, specifically in their language and everything. And I know we're eventually going to be opening up those playlists just to be completely public. Right now, you can only access it either through the website or through the QR codes in the kit. And we want that kind of to be kind of exclusive for the moment. And once we hit a certain, I believe it's on the calendar actually, before the end of the year, it'll just go public. So whoever visits those libraries will have full access to viewing them.
That's really awesome. And I guess the last thing to kind of talk about, I have like a couple community questions that we haven't touched on, but I kind of wanted to talk about just conventions in general. And you mentioned PAX East being the first one,
Hmm.
but how did it lead to going to these other conventions? What's the work that goes into that? Me and you've talked a little bit about DreamHack Atlanta and the efforts of going to that conference or that convention specifically, but I think people don't really think about the fact of you have to ship everything to those venues or drive
Yes.
with it. So again, the shipment factor comes into play, and what goes into being able to go to a convention, and is there a favorite, like one that you like to enjoy, or that you enjoy going to every year? Like, do you have one above all else you're just like, I'm excited to go?
Ooh, there's only one right answer, and if some of these, some of the people that host these shows listen to this and hear not theirs get pop up, I'm gonna be getting an email. Um, no, everybody's really laid back. So, as far as work and logistics, it's really difficult to successfully host a booth at a convention. So it really starts with just the communication. Communication is key for everything.
Right.
So once you get signed up and then you be a part of it, now you get kind of like the lowdown from the venue or from the event with what their expectations are, what sizes, when move in, all the information. So depending on where it is, if it's within driving distance, that's actually preferable because now you can bring more with you.
Right.
It's a lot cheaper and it's a lot easier. Anything out of range like that you have to fly to, now that's where it gets really tricky because say for example, GCX, we were down in Florida. We're based up in the Northeast. So everything had to be shipped down there or fly with us. There has been several occasions where I bring a bag or several that you could fit a couple dead bodies in, and I fly with it. And the look they give me when I roll into that terminal with that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm checking it. And just so you know, it has to be under 90 pounds. And I've broke 100 pounds before, but some airlines will actually allow you to balance the weight difference onto your carry-on. So you're allowed
Okay.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
like a 15 pounds, like you can
Yeah.
put it onto your carry-on, and then they'll let the 100 pounds fly. But mainly it's 90 pounds. So you can bring 90 pounds of stuff with you in a bag. Everything else we try and ship. So we work with FedEx. We have a program through them. They work with nonprofits, so we get a little bit cheaper shipping cost. So you have to time everything out perfectly because you don't want it sitting there too long,
Right.
or you have to ship it to an individual. Preferably ship it to an individual because a lot of these venues don't tell you that there's a holding fee. So it's usually like $1 per pound. So you ship 200
Jeez
pounds
Louise.
worth of
Yeah.
stuff, it is $200 for just to accept it. Then there's a holding fee on top of it,
That is wild.
which now you're gonna what could have been like $100 in shipping now translates to $787 worth of cost just to ship those down there because they hit you to receive $1 per pound for wherever you ship to them. Then there's a holding fee, which is several $100s, and then there's a processing fee and everything else. So there's a lot of hidden costs, like going on a cruise.
Yeah.
It really is. So if you can ship it to an individual nearby versus that, do that because it's going to be a lot easier. Plus, you get to meet up with people, and that's the fun part.
Yeah.
So once you get everything all sent down within the time frame, usually the week leading into the show. So if it's next weekend, this weekend, I'm going to ship it, and it should arrive there by Tuesday, Wednesday. So it'll be a couple days that it's only sitting there, and that's it. Anything else that you're flying with you, make sure you have a checklist because there's no going back. Make sure you have everything well in advance, set aside, checklist, go over it several different times. Make sure this is exactly everything that you want to bring to that show, and you know, make sure it's all accounted for. Get it on the plane, have it fly with you, whatever you got to do. Once you get there, now the fun begins where it's set up. You go and get passes, all that stuff. Go find your spot. It's usually about an hour or a couple hours, depending on how large the booth is for setup. And you want to make it pretty for when those doors open that next day. And you got to set up the day before. A lot of shows don't like it when you set up day of. They get really touchy. So they have requirements that you usually have to be set up the day before by like 8 p.m., 5 p.m. And they actually have people at certain shows that actually walk around and verify that you are all set. So after that, then it's, grab some dinner, catch a breather real quick. And then the next day, the fun starts. You usually show up to the show like an hour or two early. That way you can set up everything, kind of, digress, get a breather, acclimated to the new environment because it's very exciting. Walk the floor a little bit, stretch your legs, and then the doors open, and now it's time to have fun and start talking to people, sharing what you do, and everything in between. And then the logistics of sending it back becomes a factor. And that's usually, that's the afterthought that nobody thinks of. That's usually burned in the back of my brain. But usually the dead body bag I brought up, usually on the way back I can fit pretty much everything inside that thing. I've gotten pretty good with it, but anything outside, like when we went to Seattle, really just that's the logistics of conventions. But as far as once we did PAX East, our first convention, it was really great because what our goal really was at the beginning was not necessarily exposure, but just making people aware that we exist.
Right.
And it's really hard to do when you're in a closed community, closed network. We're based, we came out of the Destiny community. A lot of people we interact with were from that community, and, similar communities, Halo, some Fortnite, this and that, but mainly through, that server, people had the most interactions, or our website. People, people didn't know who we were. So really, the best thing to do is to get out there and make people aware that you exist. These are your resources, these are your tools, your programs, stuff like that. And then word of mouth spreads and you start to grow. And the first one was really, really fantastic, and it's great talking to people. Matt likes to pick on me because he has a pitch that he tells everything about Guardians Mental Health in about 45 seconds, if not faster. He likes to say that I take people hostage. Because if somebody starts talking and I'm in the booth, forget it. You are getting all the information that your brain can handle. And you might have to do that walk away and you're still listening until you get around the corner with me, because I love to talk. I love to talk. I love to interact with people. I love listening to stories, and I'm very long-winded, as you've noticed. So I That's the fun part right there. So once we got into that, we were in with PAX, and PAX absolutely loved us, and so they invited us to be a part of all the other shows. So we started traveling with PAX, and being from the Destiny community, when GCX would roll around, used to be the Destiny Community Expo, and
Yeah.
several different names prior. We always took part in that, and usually during that time frame, they raised donations for St. Jude, and we've also assisted with that in the past. During that week specifically, we will actually turn off our donations and everything for the week. We won't accept any donations during that show period because we want everything to go to St. Jude's. And I will always be the first one to say, Guardians Mental Health is not a one-stop shop. We're not a replacement for, proper, mental health therapy, or consults or anything. We are a helping hand. And with saying that, not being a one-stop shop, if an organization says that they are, they're full of poo.
Yeah.
There is no organization or group out there that is a one-stop shop. There are so many amazing groups and organizations and foundations and stuff that do tremendous work for specific things that it's almost a crime not to help uplift them or have working relationships with them, because we're all in this together. We're all in this
100%.
to assist individuals with their, well-being and, safety and support and everything. If somebody reaches out to us for something specific and we know somebody else that's best suited for their situation, we'll bridge the gap for them and get them in contact with somebody over at wherever it might be. And that's why we love having working relationships with a lot of different organizations and groups and everything. We stay in contact with a lot of them too on a regular basis. I do. And it works great both ways. And so when somebody reaches out, that we're going to try and provide you the best resources for what you're going through. So sorry, I went off on a tangent, completely forgot where I was going with it. But we became a part of, PAX, and with GCX, St. Jude's does amazing work. And we turn off our donations during that time period, usually every year for that point in July or August, whenever it is, and help support it. We'll retweet it. We'll take part in it. Do some fun stuff like that. It's a part of our community, so we want to be a part of it too. And we have a great relationship with a lot of the team members and people at St. Jude's. I usually like poking them at live shows, and sometimes our booth gets put right next to them. So it's like, hey, Ashley, how are you? Oh, great. How's the banner working? It's great. Yeah, so it's wonderful having that sort of kind of interaction between each other. But after that GCX, then we started getting a lot of emails and messages from people either visiting those shows or word of mouth from the presenters going, you guys should talk to them. And actually with DreamHack, they reached out to us earlier this late summer because of their main organizers in DreamHack use our app on a regular basis.
That's awesome.
And knew us through our resources, and have several of the people have our kits and our programs and everything else, and they wanted us to be a part of it in a big way. And I was really excited to hear that, and it always blows me away when I hear stuff like that. And it's like, you know who we are? And like you said, when you wear your shirt and you're out in public, where we are, we don't do a lot of live events in this area. We usually focus on like a national level.
Right.
And so whenever I go out and I have like a Guardians Mental Health hoodie on or something, every blue moon, somebody will be like, yo, where'd you get that? And it's like, oh, it's Guardians Mental Health. Yeah, I know who they are. This and that. And they'll start talking about it, and they're like, do you work with them? I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Not really telling them more.
Yeah, no.
I'm not going to say I'm the founder.
Yeah.
But yeah, I work with them. Oh, that's awesome. And it always takes me back. I'm never prepared for that stuff at all. But and it grew from there, and it's been absolutely fantastic. New York City Comic Con, a lot of the smaller conventions love having us too, and we love doing those as well. Loot Fest out in Texas. We've been all over the place, and we are always getting invites. Fan Expo wants us to do something with them. We're just working out kind of logistics on that because it kind of overlaps some other dates. We also work with Boston Anime. It's one of the largest anime
Yeah.
convention on the Eastern Seaboard, and we host the Quiet Room for them. We provide resources and kits and sensory items, and do all that fun stuff for them. And it's a great time. And it's the week after PAX East, so it's like
The busy couple weeks there.
deep
Yeah.
breath and then you're back out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's if I had a favorite, it would probably be PAX East. I think it's a great time. It's a lot of fun. I do love GCX. It's just a far travel.
Yeah, it's a
That
ways.
it is a ways, but I will say, if you do travel to PAX West, there is a place called Katsu Burger.
Hmm?
It's like a Japanese burger, and it's like a fried pork. It's
Yeah.
so goddamn good. You gotta get it. But it's in Seattle.
Yeah, I'm from
But
Washington State, so
so
I, I
good.
I I relate. I relate.
Yeah, it's but yeah, if I had to pick one, it would probably be PAX East, just because that one just feels so comfortable. I love the venue. The city's great. And it's it's amazing to walk the floor there, and it really speaks something like personal to me. That was the first convention, like gaming convention I ever went to.
Yeah,
Um, long time ago. I mean, this next one will be their 20-year anniversary, so they're making a big deal. So it's been
that's
around for
awesome.
20
Yeah.
years. So yeah, it's I just love the setting and everything. And it's an easy drive too. So yeah, if you've ever in the neighborhood of a PAX convention, I highly recommend them.
Yeah,
They
PAX is
are
always
a
the
lot
one
of
I
fun.
want to go to. I had some friends that would fly up to do PAX West. I've never got to go. I've actually only been to one gaming convention, and
Mm.
oddly, it's DreamHack Atlanta because
Ah,
they hosted Smite World Championships one year, and I just drove down and I hung out for the weekend, and I didn't know anybody. I just went and I went and met with indie developers that were there, like showing off their games. And it's crazy because I've now played some of their games on Steam that have come out, and they were hits, and it was cool. And I had a really good time. But as soon as you brought up food at conventions, I thought about PAX East because I legitimately ate breakfast. And I did not eat until I left the convention because they were selling Chick-fil-A sandwiches, and I will not forget this, for $10, $10 to $15 a sandwich. And if you walked outside the convention in a legitimate, like less than a quarter of a mile walk outside the convention center, around the corner, there was a Chick-fil-A. And you could have bought for the $10, you could have bought your
uh,
whole meal. Could have
yeah,
bought your whole meal. All you had to do was
yeah,
walk outside.
yep.
And I will never forget that because it's one of those things you just don't think of is food at a convention. It's so expensive. I just made sure like I had my water with me every day, and I don't have it down here. I wish I did. I paid for like the VIP ticket that year because it's like it comes with a backpack, and I was like, oh, awesome. I use that backpack to this day. It is the best backpack I've ever owned, and I've been using it for like the past, I don't know, 7-8 years. And it's a DreamHack backpack. I wear it everywhere. I love that
That's
backpack.
awesome. I
Um,
wonder if they're gonna do backpacks this year.
I
I'm gonna
don't
try and
know, but
get
if
one.
they do, I will purchase one. My wife wants that backpack. Like she'll if she goes anywhere where she only needs a backpack to go, she's like, "Can I take it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine." But I
Yeah.
use it for everything.
Who was it? GCX had backpacks 2 years ago, and they gave me one. For I can't remember how I ended up getting it, but I got it. My wife took it. It's her backpack now. It's her travel bag.
Yeah.
And when we were at PAX East, some monster, or no, it wasn't a PAX East actually. It was Warp Tour. I went to Warp Tour and Monster had a thing there, and they were giving out free monsters and stuff, but they gave me a backpack full of Monster
Oh, there you
and a
go.
bunch of stuff, and I had that backpack and I used it everywhere. And at one point, I it's the colors. It's
Yeah.
black and green. I took a GMH patch and I put it over the logo, and I would travel to several conventions with a Monster backpack with a
That's so
GMH
funny.
patch over it.
That's so
Yeah. Now
funny.
my oldest took it. She's like, "Where'd this Monster backpack come from?" It's like, it's been in your face for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Yeah,
Who,
no. I'm really excited about Atlanta. That's gonna be fun.
who would think that convention backpacks are like the best backpacks you can get? I buy my
It,
kids a backpack at the store. Things
yeah,
ripped apart after a month
yeah.
and a half. Convention backpacks this last years. I don't get it. Whatever. Whoever's making those
Whoever made,
backpacks,
yeah,
they
you're
know what they're
doing a hell
doing.
of a job.
They are working really good. No, I am super excited about DreamHack. Our last day of school is the 15th, but I don't have any exams that day. And I talked to my supervisor. I was like, "Do I need to be here on the 15th?" And she's like, "No." And I was like, "Awesome," because I'm
Perfect.
gonna be driving to Atlanta on the 14th. Then I was like, "I will give my exams. I will turn in the grades, and then I'm leaving." And she's like, "Sounds good to me." And I was like, "Perfect." So I'm really excited. I told my parents, I said, "Hey, do you want the kids to come out hang out with you the weekend before Christmas?" And they're like, "That would be awesome." So they're happy to hang out with the kiddos. But before we head out of here, there was a couple community questions. The good news is we've hit most of them already. We've done a really good job
Awesome.
about answering questions as we go. But I did want to touch on one, and really I got two of the same type of question here. Is what game do you recommend for people coping, or that just need to cope with an issue going on, or what's a good de-stress slash lazy day calm game? And I saw someone post this, and I thought about Prague Goddess because I raided her the other day, and she talked about modded Stardew Valley, and I've never
Mm.
played Stardew Valley, but I have watched people play it, and there is no shot that that game isn't one of the best games to just like de-stress, wind down, calm down, whatever it is that you need. It just seems so relaxing anytime I watch people play it.
Yeah, yeah, that was one of my suggestions right there is Stardew Valley. And it really is. It is a great de-stressor, grounding game. It's very, the music and everything is very calming. And just the way that you can, kind of put your village together and everything. And another one would be Minecraft, actually, is
Yeah,
another great
Minecraft's
one.
great.
It's very soothing, and you can be as creative as you want, or you can just hang out.
Yeah.
Um, then Animal Crossing is another one.
Oh,
And
Animal
if you see
Crossing.
that there is a theme that goes with
Yeah.
these kind of type of games, um, if you try to think of like mobile, because we're in a mobile kind of world. Um,
You know what I
there are
like that's
so
on mobile?
many.
Mini Metro is a good
Really?
one. And it's you're building this like street systems to different areas. And there is a management thing to it of making sure the cars can reach the store and go back to their houses and stuff, but it's very plain. And it's one of those
Hmm.
games that it can be sort of relaxing. I know a lot of people like 2048 or threes as well, where you can kind of just, you're just moving stuff, combining them, and it kind of gives you that satisfaction of,
Tetris is another one too.
Tetris is good. There's a rhythm Tetris game on iOS on Apple Arcade.
Mm, I did not know that.
I found that out yesterday because Luke had me looking at games on the iPad, and
That's
I was
rad.
like, wow, there's a rhythm based Tetris game that has to be kind of good because Tetris is good. But I think
But
any type of like match three games too
yeah,
are really nice
but it all depends on the individual too.
for sure.
Those might not be your cup of tea. A game like Destiny, you don't have to go into PvP.
No,
You don't have to go into anything stressful or anything like that. You can ride a sparrow just around the open world. Go chest hunting. Go look for chests. Go look for loot. Shoot some aliens. Some people, escape in Call of Duty. If that's
yeah,
your cup of tea, that's your cup of tea.
I
Um,
I used to play
yeah,
Tarkov because the rain in Tarkov sounds so realistic that it was calming. Now, the game itself, no. But if I could find a rain level and just walk around, whether I win, lose, whatever, extract or die, whatever happens, the rain in that game was just so soothing that I just enjoyed it.
No
It was
Man's
just one of
Sky
those
is a
things.
good one too.
That is a
You know,
really good one. Just exploration. You
yep.
know,
Just go and explore. You know,
just one of those
that
things where like I mentioned earlier, you shut your brain off, not have to think about a ton, and you can just really just enjoy the experience. It's almost like it's cinematic, where it's
mm-hmm.
just
Yeah.
and that's really nice. I think it really just comes down to like, what do you need as the de-stressor? Is a puzzle game going to work? Is that too much thinking? Is it I need to play something that's more competitive because I now want to work with a group of people? I think there's a lot of elements there
Yeah,
as far as that goes,
definitely.
for sure. Well, as we wrap it up, Joe, do you have, I always ask everybody when they come on, do you have any shout outs? Do you have anything you want to leave us with as we end the show here?
I if we were gonna do shout outs, how much time do you have for the night? Because it would be a forever list. I
It'd be a
I
long
just
list.
want to
Yeah.
say shout out to everybody that works with us and helps support us at Guardians Mental Health. We have an amazing team of very passionate people at Guardians Mental Health, and all of our ambassadors, you included, are the heart and soul of GMH, and I can't thank everybody enough. And if I had multiplicity, the capability for multiplicity, I would try my very best to support absolutely everybody at every waking moment. Just because I appreciate everybody so much, and I love building relationships, and just being a part of something together that is
Yeah.
so meaningful and impactful. And everybody who supports us, if it wasn't for everybody's support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And none of it goes to our pay or anything. It goes to help other people.
Yeah.
So you really do see your donations and your support go to work. So just for people, even people that can't donate, that just help by retweeting or sharing how they're feeling on Wednesday mental health check-ins, that helps immensely, not just for us, but for the individual as well.
Yeah.
You know, uh, and for words, there's a saying that I always say to myself almost on a daily basis. And actually, I had a friend message me the other night that I sent them a Christmas gift. And this person struggles a lot, has a lot going on in their life, like us all. We all have stuff going on, and you don't know what the other person that you could be having an argument with, what they might be going through.
Sure.
Because we all have things going on. Uh, be understanding. Try and not jump to conclusions to people, because you don't know what they're dealing with, what they're going through, what their struggles are. So be empathetic towards everyone. And we all have hard times. We all have difficult times and difficult moments in our lives that we all struggle. No one's immune to it. Not even me. I suffered from anxiety that I was medicated for several years, and I overcame it by tools and stuff that we do with Guardians Mental Health. But I still have moments, just like everybody. Um, you're not alone. Understand that. Embrace that you are not alone. There are people out there who want to listen, who want to help, and that are there for those things. And if you need help contacting, reach out.
Yeah, for
Reach
sure.
out to us at GMH, or reach out to a friend, reach out to a family member. Open up. That's usually the hardest step, is just reaching out. And the hardest step is always, the most difficult one to make, because the one that makes us we have to come out of our bubble to accomplish that, and it's very difficult. But even during those hard times, those stressful moments where you're feeling overwhelmed and everything, I always have a saying that I tell myself, um, keep moving forward. Just
Yep.
keep moving forward. It's one step at a time. You don't have to go leaps and bounds, but keep moving forward. Don't let yourself fall into a rut, too deep. We all fall in ruts, but keep edging, keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And if you keep moving forward, you will be absolutely amazed what you can accomplish and what you can do. And I have faith in absolutely everybody is capable of doing incredible things. And I've heard so many people talk so down about themselves, and we are our biggest critics. Our we really are.
We are for sure.
I have imposter syndrome hit me all the time. It's like I didn't accomplish this, and I look back and I did, and it was one step at a time. So keep moving forward, no matter what.
Yep. I agree.
That's it.
I always tell people look for the silver linings because there always is one. No matter how bad the
Yeah.
situation is, there's always something that you can learn from that's positive. There's always it might be small, but there's something, and I think that always goes a long way. And it's really easy to let negativity
Mhm.
sink in. I tell this to my athletes, think of a pink elephant, or I say don't think of a pink elephant, and I said what do you just do? They're like I thought of a pink elephant because your brain is wired that way to think about that negative word don't. And
I hate to do this, but you say picture a pink elephant, and I
yeah.
pictured a board game, because I had a board game in college, and I
uh,
found it in the attic. It's called Pink Elephants, and it's a drinking game.
oh my goodness,
So yeah,
that's
that's a
funny.
chestnut for you. But
But no, I,
but
I I
you're
do it.
absolutely right. There is a silver lining, and we will let negative thoughts and overrun us, and those are what stick with us the most.
Yeah.
You can find the positive, and you have a hard time thinking of the positive because the negative outweigh it, because that's what weighs us down. But yeah, find that silver lining.
Yep.
Absolutely agree with that.
Well, Joe, I thank you for coming in and talking with me tonight. I know it's a little bit later than we expected, but that's okay.
I'm so sorry for
No, it
being
was all
late.
good because it was one of those things where like I was like, man, I said this morning, I said I need to message Joe during the day, and I went jumping, I did all this other stuff, and I was like, oh crap, I forgot to message Joe.
I am
But it was
very
it,
forgetful.
oh, and it's okay. It was one of those things. I was in the middle of cooking. I was making some crispy skin salmon. That's what I was doing, and then I
Well, when
said,
you messaged, I threw teenagers in the pickup truck and drove them home. And it was like,
so.
you all are going right now.
Well, I do appreciate you coming on with us, and for everybody listening, check out guardiansmentalhealth.org. You can find a lot of the resources there. You can print them off yourselves. You can see the videos as well. But you can also go on your handy dandy phone, iOS and Android. You can download the Guardians Mental Health app and use that as a resource as well. It's there for you. And we appreciate y'all. Take it easy. Bye.
Bye.